Martel's epic, Life of Pi, is quite possibly one of the most intriguing pieces of literature written during our time. Not because of the individual facets of it, the growth of the main character over time, or the resilience that the main character exhibits in the face of what we would traditionally assume to be insurmountable obstacles, but rather because of its adept analysis of the human mind as it relates to spirituality. What really is incredible about the novel is how many facets of this idea may be understood, and how Martel attempts and adeptly succeeds at explaining each and every one. This main character that Martel uses to illustrate such ideas is none other than the Hindu-born Piscine Molitor Patel, known to all as Pi. Likewise, what's unique about Pi is what is unique about the mind of all humans: thought, which is understood by modern psychology as existing in two forms, analytical and intuitive. In Life of Pi, both mindsets are explored and articulated through Martel's principal agent of change and characterization: religion. Analytical thought exists as a faculty unique to humans, and may be understood more colloquially as logic. Our first inkling that Pi is analytical comes to us in the first chapter of the novel, where we learn that he studied religion in college. It comes again pages later when it is revealed that Pi's own curiosity, his desire to know and understand, is the means by which he is introduced to Christianity. And when no one is at the church he makes his way towards to seek this information, he comes back again. And when Pi does not believe what he is told, it's not necessarily because it contradicts with his Hinduism, but because of his logic. If God on the cross is God shamming a human tragedy, it turns the passion of Christ into the farce of Christ. The death of the Son must be real, but once a dead God, always a dead God, even resurrected. Why would God wish that upon himself? Why make dirty what is beautiful, spoil what is perfect? In a single instant, it's revealed to the audience that Pi is logical. He draws out the imperfections that he sees using reason, coming to effective conclusions based upon his own mental faculties. He doesn't ultimately accept Christ because he likes him, but because he can rationalize him. Not only this, but Pi is also curious. He wants to know more about God. The same ideas are articulated during his interactions with the man who introduces him to Islam, Mr. Kumar, as he participates in the ritual of the religion because he wants to know. And while certain studies draw heavy correlations between the analytically minded and an atheistic mindset, Martel creates an interesting juxtaposition between such expectations and the reality of Pi's personality in the novel as an overtly religious individual who retains his capacities for rational and intelligent thought. Thus, the fact that Pi is able to accept religion as completely as he does relates that he also contains the second piece of the cognitive puzzle mentioned earlier: intuitive thought, association of events, a process of realization and understanding that deals with the recognition of patterns and in the association of events. This system of thought may otherwise be described as magical thought, as God is the greatest magician of all, and such thought has been associated with religious inclination. And while magical thought has a lot of cognitive implications, according to science journalist Matthew Hudson, there are three basic components of it: dualism, anthropomorphism, and teleological reasoning. What's unique about Pi and the narrative of his life is that all connections to God rely upon this final facet of magical thought: his ability to find meaning and purpose in events or objects. In this way, all three religions are able to bring Pi to God. That is to say, he's able to find the truth of the divine in all of them. For instance, on page 25, when Pi tells us of his first encounter with religion in a Hindu temple, he has no conscious memory of this first go-around in a temple, but some smell of incense, some play of light and shadow, some flame, some burst of color, something of the sultriness and mystery of the place must have stayed with him. Pi has love of Hinduism because of a feeling, a connection, an interplay of human and divine, and a sense of mystery and an awe at the final result. Pi goes on to say in the same page, "My heart skips a beat when I catch sight of the Murti, of God residing in the inner sanctum of the temple. Truly I am in a sacred cosmic womb, a place where everything is born, and it is my sweet luck to behold its living core." Pi experiences what he believes to be divinity, so it's no surprise then that the wonderment that he feels is a primary component of teleological thinking, which, according to a study performed by Pier Carlo Valdesolo of Claremont McKenna College and Jesse Graham of the University of Southern California, may lead to pattern finding and thus greater religious belief. So the audience shouldn't be surprised to find that Pi accepts Christianity in part because of the awe he experienced in the person of Christ, which, according to Pi himself, he couldn't get out of his head because the more he learned about him, the less he wanted to leave him. The same exact emotion is found just a few pages later when Pi is introduced to Islam through the Sufi mystic Mr. Kumar, a Hafiz, one who knows the Quran by heart, who sang it in a slow, simple chant. Pi's Arabic was never very good, but he loved its sound. The guttural eruptions and the long flowing vowels rolled just beneath his comprehension like a beautiful brook. He gazed into this brook for long spells of time. It was not wide, just one man's voice, but it was as deep as the universe. So it shouldn't surprise us then that when looking at the size and scope of the actual universe in space, many astronauts report coming to belief in God. As Pi said, first wonder goes deepest. This awe, this two-pronged feeling of inundation of the vastness of experience, and the resulting desire to explain it away is what brings Pi to God and what brings God to Pi. The result? Love. Love not only of religion, but of all facets of religion. Pi has a love of theology, as is made clear through the numerous passages describing his extensive knowledge about all three of his religions. Pi has a love of ritual, as is made clear through the blessing of himself, his desire for a prayer rug so as to pray Salat, the daily 5-prayer ritual of Muslims, and when on his sailboat he takes part in Samadhi, or state of religious ecstasy, part of Hindu yoga in which the individual seeks union with divinity, and wherein Pi is visited by the most extraordinary dreams, trances, visions, thoughts, sensations, and remembrances, via the use of his personal dream rag, not too dissimilar to the ancient Indian use of the psychedelic drink Soma, which according to the Rig Veda allowed the ancients to become immortal, attain the divine light, and discover God. But most importantly, religion begets unto Pi a love of animals, which are probably some of the most significant characters in the novel, as they are integral to the articulation of Pi's narrative, especially when he finds himself stranded in a lifeboat. If it weren't for this hyena, the sailor wouldn't have thrown me into the sailboat, and I would have stayed on the ship, and I surely would have drowned. And then again, pages later, it was Richard Parker, the lion, who calmed me down. It is the irony of this story that the one who scared me witless to start with was the very same who brought me peace, purpose, I dare say even wholeness. If I still had the will to live, it was thanks to Richard Parker. Animals for Pi in the story facilitate companionship, especially in the aforementioned Richard Parker. Such companionship, according to Pi himself, is the reason that he is able to go on living, and thus, in a sense, these animals become the very means by which Pi is able to survive. They become integral to his life, just as they are integral to the religions he practices. Take Hinduism, for example, wherein the cow is revered as a symbol of bounty, maternal strength, and the sustenance of life. Wherein the tiger, the great companion of Pi, is also the great companion of the Lord Shiva, whom Pi has a statue of in his house, and who also is an avatar of Lord Vishnu, whom Pi thanks for saving his life. Wherein all animals are regarded as having souls, thus explaining why Pi and most Hindus are vegetarians. The same is true of Catholicism and Islam, Pope John Paul II himself having said that animals possess a soul, and that man must love and feel solidarity with our smaller brethren. And the Quran in Surah 6, verse 38, telling all Muslims that animals like men live as communities and peoples, and that they too shall see paradise. Martel then takes this allegory a level deeper, as he accords Pi with an adoration of animals. I spent more hours than I can count, a quiet witness to the highly mannered, manifold expressions of life that grace our planet. It is something so bright, loud, weird, and delicate as to stupefy the senses. One that is made manifest in page upon page of highly organized and intellectual analysis of animal biology. In Pi's weakness in the face of killing a fish, going so far as to regard himself as Cain afterwards, and his exclusion of this fish and the maimed zebra that originally accompanied Pi and Richard Parker earlier on in the novel in his prayers. The meaning behind all this is rather obvious. Pi takes his religion to heart. He isn't a cafeteria Catholic or a fly-by-night Hindu in terms of his action. Pi lives out much of the doctrines of his faiths. For Pi, life and religion are one and the same, two pieces of an inseparable whole. Pi unable to know where his life ends and where his faith begins, a cognitive idea that is highly documented among the religious. What is by far my most favorite part of the novel, and creating this video essay, was how Martel elucidated such an idea, and how I came to this conclusion. Allegory. Allegory is everywhere throughout the novel, and provides for the aforementioned realization. Pi lives his religion. His very name, Piscine Molitor Patel, calls back to water, the Piscine Molitor swimming pool in France. Water, of course, being a symbol for purity and cleanliness in all three of his religions. But when you look a little bit deeper, you find that no swimming pool in Mamaji's eyes, the man who gave Pi his name, matched the glory of the Piscine Molitor. It was the crowning aquatic glory of Paris, indeed of the entire civilized world. Ergo, Pi is the purest of that which is already pure. Fast forward a few years when Piscine rechristens himself as Pi.
An irrational number of infinite length, usually rounded to 3 digits, as 3.14.
The 3.14 being especially significant, as Pi doesn't end, but is infinite. A rather interesting fact, considering that God too is infinitely powerful, knowing, and benevolent. Then consider the fact that his name is a Greek letter in the midst of the Alpha and the Omega, but all the while closer to the divine end. So not only is Pi pure, but he also has elements of divinity incorporated directly into his identity. But what's more, Pi is a walking testament to religion. Pi is Simon called Peter, Matthew called Levi, Nathaniel called Bartholomew, Judas called Thaddeus, Simon called Niger, and Saul called Paul. Why? Because each of them, disciples of the divine, had multiple names. so too does Pi. But then Pi is Muhammad because of his persecution, and Pi is even Christ because of the 3 wise men that came to see his family, each wanting to claim this uniquely pious boy as their own. Even the terminology of wise men is significant, as the Magi of the Bible were not magicians but priests of the religion of Zoroastrianism, which laid the spiritual foundations for Hinduism, Christianity, and Islam. But perhaps most importantly, Pi is the biblical Adam. Think about Adam for a second. Where did he live? A garden surrounded by animals created by his eternal father, God. Now think about Pi. He lived amidst a man-made garden containing animals created by his own father.
My father was a clever businessman. Came up with one. He ran a hotel and he got the idea to open a zoo in the local botanical gardens instead.
And if you know Genesis, you know Adam named all of the animals that exist, just as Pi is able to name fact upon fact of animal biology. When Pi is forced onto his lifeboat after the sinking of the ship, the Simsum, he becomes a desolate Adam. Just as Adam was a lonely man surrounded by animals amidst a pristine and untouched earth with a direct connection to the divine, so too is Pi a lonely man surrounded by animals amidst a pristine and untouched earth with a pure connection to the divine. The Simsum itself may be understood to be an allusion to the Ark of Noah in Genesis, Noah being a man escaping the evils of the antediluvian world so as to find respite in the new creation of post-flood life, and Pi's father being a man escaping the dark age and evils of Indian democracy in the 1970s, in which Prime Minister Indira Gandhi instituted martial law, usurped the Indian constitution, and had dissidents arrested so as to find respite in a new life in Canada. The mirrors between Noah's Ark and the Simsum as a boat are also obvious, both having carried the fruit of God's creation, man and animal. The name itself is even more significant, referring to the concept in the esoteric school of Judaic thought known as the Kabbalah, whereupon the infinite divine light of God in the form of the Ein Sof limited itself, an act of creative love, so as to make possible creation. And while the fullness of this idea is far too complex to go into now, the meaning behind naming the boat as such is a representation of both the act of creation and the culmination of it. Finally, Pi's journey in the ocean ceases with a final allegory and a final allusion to Pi as Adam. When Pi finds the mysterious island of floating algae, he finds what he believes to be perfection amidst his personal hell of isolation and hunger. He has all he could ever want to eat and drink and the companionship of the animals of the island. Nothing, he thought, could ever push him to return to the lifeboat and the suffering and deprivation he had endured on it. Nothing. At first, one may regard this island as a simple allegorical Eden, but when Pi digs deeper, he finds that there is a gross unnaturality to the island. As described on page 123, there is no ecology to the island. No insects, no shrubbery other than the algae trees. No rocks, no rodents, only meerkats. The many ponds of the island, originally containing fresh water that Pi swam in and drank, were found to be killing saltwater fish surrounding the island. But what ties all this to the true allegory is knowledge, and the fruit that brings it. On page 127, when Pi finds a single tree containing fruit, which, like the island, appears to be delicious according to Pi. When Pi unravels this quote-unquote fruit, he finds inside a rotten tooth and thus a rotten core. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? What Pi realizes is that the island is not fostering his own life, but rather slowly working to kill him, as the island is found out to have acidic properties during the night, and as a result, the island represents a false Eden and a false perfection. Satan tempting Pi to indulge in the lethargy of having all provided for him, while slowly eating away at his physical body, just as Satan tempted Adam and Eve with the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Such allegories relate that there is no separation for Pi and for many religious individuals between life and religion. From Pi's curiosity and logic to his love of all facets of religiosity, Pi is consumed by his religion and is able to reveal who he is through it. In this way, Life of Pi serves as an exposition of Pi's self through the medium of religion, and in reality, it serves as an exposition of the psychology of religious thought through the person of Pi by Jan Martel.